So today we will discuss about the examination of the precordium, right? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So at first, the cardiovascular examination I will discuss first and will demonstrate first, and then we will go to theoretical discussion because I have to leave the subject first. ঠিক আছে? ডেটারও ব্যাপার আছে, যত তাড়াতাড়ি এক্সামিনেশনটা দেখিয়ে দেওয়া যায় তারপরে আমরা থিওরিটিক্যাল ডিসকাশনে যাব, ঠিক আছে?
Okay, sir.
So first, when we examine the cardiovascular examination, first we have to expose the part of the chest. ঠিক আছে? Next, what we will do by inspection, we will see if there is any bulging over the precordium or not. Is there any scarmer or not? Any accessory nipple or not? Like that. Okay, any venous prominence is there or not? Like that. And most importantly, whether there is any visible pulsation. What are the areas we look for visible pulsation in cardiovascular examination? We look for cardiovascular examination, the pulsations are looked in from the suprasternal area. By suprasternal area, we look for any suprasternal pulsation. There is any suprasternal pulsation or not. Then left second intercostal space, that is the pulmonary area. Is there any visible pulsation or not? In that way, in aortic area, that is right second intercostal space. In neo-aortic area, left third intercostal space. In tricuspid area, left fourth intercostal space, and in the apex, which is usually in the left supraclavicular line and which is half inch medial to the left fifth intercostal space, half inch medial to the midclavicular line. In those areas, we look for any visible pulsations or not. Okay. Now inspection, and in inspection we look for these criteria. And during palpation, the palpation is a very important part in cardiovascular examination, and we look areas by areas, palpate areas by areas. What are the areas normally we palpate? The normal areas we palpate are the mitral area, tricuspid area, aortic area, pulmonary area, and neo-aortic area. The mitral area is in the midclavicular line, left midclavicular line, half inch medial to the midclavicular line, and it is the area of the apex, normal apex also. And how we palpate? We palpate by the palp of the finger, like this. Next, in the left fourth intercostal space, just lateral to the sternum. Before that, you have to ascertain which space you are palpating. From the suprasternal notch, you come to the angle of Lewis, and from there you count the second space, third space, fourth space, and fifth space. In left fourth intercostal space, just lateral to the sternum, this is the tricuspid area, and you palpate with your palp of the finger. Next, go to pulmonary area and then aortic area. And by this method of palpation, we can localize the apex first in the mitral area, where is the position of the apex. If the apex is not palpated in the usual area, then you have to go to outward or inward direction if there is any shifting of the apex beat or not. If in that position also the apex is not palpable, then what will you do? You will make the patient sit, and then palpate the apex. And then palpate the apex. If in that position also the apex is not palpable, then we should go to the right side. If there is any dextrocardia, then the apex beat will be palpated in the right side. Okay, but never turn the patient to the left or right position, left or right lateral position to localize the apex, because when you when the patient is lateralized, then the heart is also rotated and the apex is also rotated to that side. So if in those position, in normal supine position, sitting position and right lateral position, the apex could not be localized, then you say that there is I could not localize the apex. What are the possibilities for those? The physiological possibilities are the patients may be very obese, number one. Number two is the apex is behind a rib. These are the two physiological conditions where we cannot localize the apex properly. And the other pathological causes are the left-sided pleural or cardiac pathology. Left-sided pleural pathology like pneumothorax or pleural effusion or pneumothorax, or cardiac causes, it may be a case of cardiac tamponade where we cannot localize the apex properly. Now, what are the character of the apex? Apex is the outermost and downernmost a definite thrust that is felt in your palm of the finger. It must not be the maximum thrust you feel over the precordium. It is the downernmost and outermost definite thrust that we feel. That is the localization of the apex. And the character, it is normal character where we feel a brief pulsation of the apex over the palm of the finger. This is normal apex. And other types of apex character are hyperdynamic, which is forceful and ill-sustained. Means it will tap your finger, just tap your finger and then goes away. Those are found in very short, where there is very short systole, like aortic regurgitation, mitral regurgitation, etc. Another type of apex is, the first type of apex is normal, second type of apex is hyperdynamic, third type of apex is heaving type of apex, where the apex is hyperdynamic and well sustained. Ill sustained means the timing of the apex is less than 1/3 of the duration of the systole, and when the apex is felt greater than 1/3 of the time of the systole, it is called well sustained apex beat. It is also called heaving type of apex, and heaving type of apex is seen in when there is left ventricular outflow tract obstruction, like aortic stenosis, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, coarctation of aorta, very severe systemic hypertension, like that. Okay. Another type of apex is tapping apex. Tapping apex is which is seen in mitral stenosis, that is palpable fast heart sound that will feel on your pulse and goes away. And another type of apex is hypodynamic apex, means it is not forceful, very feeble apex, and it is seen in peripheral circulatory failure. So when we palpate, we can in the apex, we can feel the localization of the apex beat and character of the apex beat. Also, we will try to feel if there is any palpable heart sound like S1, S2, S3 or S4. Okay. Now we go to the other areas also, like tricuspid area in left fourth intercostal space, in pulmonary area left second intercostal space just lateral to the sternum, and right second intercostal space in the aortic area. And during palpation, we see normally the besides the apex, in other areas also we feel the heart sound, whether it is S1, S2, S3 or S4, and mainly thrill is present or not. any palpable thrill. Thrill is the palpable murmur, like purring of a cat. And how do we palpate the thrill? Thrill is palpated by this wave of the fingers, like this. When we were palpating for any pulsation and any palpable heart sound or not, then we were using our palp of the finger. But during palpating the thrill, we will use the wave of the fingers, and the fingers will be of the chest, and thenar hypothenar eminence will be of the chest wall, like this. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
The same areas I am palpating for the thrill. Apical area or mitral area. This is the tricuspid area. This is pulmonary area, and this is aortic area. This is the palpation of the thrill. Okay. Now another one in palpation is the left parasternal heave is present or not. Left parasternal heave means when there is right ventricular hypertrophy, there will be a upward movement or a heaving impulse in the left parasternal border. How we will see that? We will place the ulnar border of the hand in the left parasternal area, and if there is upside down of the hand, then we can say that there is a parasternal heave present in that area. Normally, it does not. The hand does not look up and down, but if there is parasternal heave in right ventricular hypertrophy, then there will be uplifting and downgrading of the of my hand, like this. Okay. Now these are the inspection and palpation. Now during auscultation, remember two things. Number one, the auscultation of the mitral area, of the tricuspid area, and auscultation of the base of the heart means pulmonary area and aortic area. When you auscultate the mitral area and tricuspid area, patient will lie supine like that. But when you auscultate the base of the heart, that means the aortic area and pulmonary area, patient will sit and will be leaning forward. Just I am showing. Now we have localized the apex. Now we will place our stethoscope over the apex. There will be sound like lab dub, lab dub, lab dub. The lab is the fastest sound and dub is the second hard sound. You all know that. Next, we will go to the tricuspid area. Now, when we auscultate the base of the heart, means pulmonary and aortic area, patient will sit and will be leaning forward. Okay, and then we palpate the pulmonary area and aortic area. During this auscultation, what we will note? First, we will note the heart sound, whether the heart sounds are normal or not, S1 and S2 present or not, normal or not, or whether S1 is loud, S2 is loud or not, if there is any S3 or S4. S3 comes just after S2, and S4 it comes just before S1. Means both are diastolic sounds. The timing between S1 and S2 is systole, and timing between the S2 and S1 is diastole. If there is third heart sound, then it will be like lub dub dub, lub dub dub, lub dub dub. This is the third heart sound. And when there is lub lub dub, lub lub dub, lub lub dub, this is the fourth heart sound. So the third heart sound comes after S2 and fourth heart sound comes before S1. Both are diastolic sound. What are the other things that we auscultate besides the heart sound? Any murmur or added sound are present or not? When we auscultate the apex and we auscultate a murmur, there is a murmur. Now you have to distinguish whether it is systolic murmur or it is diastolic murmur. How will we do that? Now we are listening to a murmur, we are getting a murmur. Now give your left thumb to the carotid. If the murmur coincides with the carotid pulsation, that means that the murmur is systolic. If the murmur does not coincide with the carotid pulsation, that means the murmur is diastolic. Okay. And what are the other sounds that we auscultate? Like if there is opening snap in mitral stenosis, that comes before the murmur due to bellowing down of the mitral valve. And the other things we auscultate by our stethoscope is if there is any click or not. Okay, these are the things we have to note down during auscultation. The heart sounds S1, S2, S3 or S4, if there is any murmur or not. If there is murmur, it is systolic or diastolic. If diastolic murmur, it is early diastolic or mid diastolic or late diastolic. If systolic, then if it is pansystolic or ejection systolic. In diastolic murmurs, if it is mid diastolic murmur, then we can suspect in the most prominent in the mitral area, then the diagnosis is the mitral stenosis. If in the mitral area we can get a pansystolic murmur, then the diagnosis is mitral regurgitation. And murmur of the mitral regurgitation often radiates to the axillary area and infrascapular area. So when you get a pansystolic murmur over the mitral area, also auscultate the axilla and left infrascapular area if there is any radiation. Infrascapular area, left infrascapular area, and this is the axillary area. These two sides you have to auscultate if there is any pansystolic murmur in the mitral area. Okay, the pansystolic murmur means there are two types of systolic murmurs mainly. One is pansystolic, means the murmur starts with S1 and ends through S2. So S1 and S2 both are soft and can't be heard properly. You can only hear the murmur throughout the systole. This is called pansystolic murmur. And another is ejection systolic murmur. Pansystolic murmur is we find in mitral regurgitation, and if we find it on the tricuspid area, the diagnosis may be tricuspid regurgitation or ventricular septal defect. And other systolic murmurs are the ejection systolic murmur. Ejection systolic murmur means we can hear the S1 and S2 properly. The murmur starts after S1 and ends before S2. So we can hear S1 and S2 properly. In between this time phase, there is the audible murmur that is called ejection systolic murmur. That is the classical sign of aortic stenosis. We can hear the ejection systolic murmur in the aortic area in aortic stenosis. Okay, and in diastolic murmur means when we auscultate a murmur that does not coincide with the carotid pulsation, that is diastolic murmur. It may be early diastolic murmur, we find it in aortic regurgitation, and it may be mid systolic murmur that we find in classically in mitral stenosis and also hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Okay, so the proper positioning of the patient during auscultation is a must. When you auscultate the apical area and tricuspid area, let the patient be supine position, and when you auscultate the base of the heart, that is the aortic area and pulmonary area, make the patient in supine position and slightly leaning forward. Okay, now in your exam there are 4 types of valvular heart disease that we are expecting from the undergraduate examinee. One is mitral stenosis, one is mitral regurgitation, another is aortic stenosis, and other is aortic regurgitation. Now, why the murmur of the grading of the murmur, and why the murmur of these are in different time of the cardiac cycle? Now, this is the discussion, a theoretical discussion. I will now leave the subject that is all about the cardiological precordial examination and pulse, JBP, and blood pressure that you have been taught by Dr. Kuntal, and I was told to demonstrate the precordial examination. That is all about precordial examination. Now the discussion will be theoretical, why the murmur of the different types of valvular heart disease in the different times of cardiac cycle and the gradings of the murmur like that. আমি সাবজেক্টকে ছেড়ে দিচ্ছি, এবার তোমাদের কিছু প্রশ্ন থাকলে বলতে পারো, মানে এক্সামিনেশনের ব্যাপারে। if there is any query about examination of the cardiovascular system or precordium, you can ask me. I shall demonstrate you. হ্যাঁ বলো, আরেকবার বলো।
স্যার জেবিপি এক্সামিনেশনটা একবার দেখিয়ে দেবেন কিভাবে করব?
জেবিপি এক্সামিনেশন আছে। The patient will be in 45-degree position. Okay. Now, the JBP examination, what will you see? Internal jugular vein or external jugular vein? Anyone?
Internal.
Internal, yes.
Internal.
The internal jugular vein comes behind the mastoid and it enters the thorax through the 2 heads of the sternocleidomastoid. Okay. And external jugular vein you can find more peripherally, but we don't judge the external jugular vein because it traverses through the deep fascia of the neck, and there may be kinking and obstruction of the external jugular vein at any moment. So if we want to judge the pressure of the right atrium, it is the internal jugular venous pressure. Normally it is less than 5 cm of the H2O. So the right atrium is below 5 cm of the sternal angle. So normally we can't see internal jugular vein pulsation, but when there is rise of right atrium due to any cause, it may be tricuspid regurgitation, it may be pulmonary arterial hypertension, it may be congestive cardiac failure. Like that, you will see the internal jugular pulsation above the clavicle. ठीक है? Now the patient will lie supine in 45-degree position. We will see the from root of the neck, the two heads of the sternomastoid, the internal jugular vein traverse like that. Okay. Now what we do, we make the patient's head to the other side, and now use a torch if there is not enough light. The torch is focused from the right side of the patient, like obliquely. Now you can see the pulsation of the internal jugular vein if there is raised pressure of the right atrium. And how will you measure? Now it may be the pulsation may be carotid pulsation, or it may be internal jugular venous pulsation. How will you differentiate between these two? Just feel the pulsation. If the pulsation can be felt, it is carotid pulsation, but venous pulsation you can't feel. So when you place your finger, palm of the finger, usually the thumb of the finger, over the pulsation, if it is palpable, then it is carotid pulsation. If it is not palpable, then it is internal jugular venous pulsation. Another thing to differentiate between these two is the carotid pulsation has a single peak, but internal jugular venous pulsation has double peak. There is two positive wave, three positive waves, and two negative waves of the internal jugular vein. What are the waves? The waves are A, C, X, B, Y chronologically. The A and C wave is positive wave that is not usually seen. So we can see just A wave and B wave as a positive wave. There will be two peaks of the pulsation. If there is two peaks of the pulsation, it is venous pulsation or jugular venous pulsation. Okay, but carotid pulsation has a single peak. And number 3 differentiating point, if we press over the root of the neck from where the pulsation begins, there will be obliteration of the jugular venous pulsation, but carotid pulsation will remain same. Number 3. And number 4, and very important, is abdominojugular reflex. What is abdominojugular reflex? If we press over the abdomen or right hypochondrium, anywhere, when you increase the intra-abdominal pressure, it will increase the interthoracic pressure, it will increase the venous return to the heart. So right atrial pressure will increase, and there the pulsation, the visible pulsation over the neck will increase. That is called abdominojugular reflex. How many seconds will you palpate? 10 seconds. You will press your hand over the abdomen for 10 seconds, either in the right hypochondrium or in the mid-umbilical region. Thus, we can increase the venous return to the heart, and the jugular venous pulsation will increase, but carotid venous pulsation will not increase. So the patient will lie in 45-degree angle, head will be on that side. You will give a torch from tangentially from this direction, and you will see the pulsation with double peak over the neck. And how we will measure the how many centimeter of H2O the jugular venous pulsation is? First, check the upper limit of the venous pulsation. From there, you tangentially make a line with a postcard or suppose this is a postcard and you get a pulsation of the upper limit of jugular vein here. So horizontally you will place a postcard like this horizontally. Okay, now you measure from this postcard from here to the chest wall, angle of Lewis. Measure this. Suppose this is 5 centimeter. Now the right atrium is 5 centimeter below the angle of the Lewis. So if so you add 5 with this 5 plus 5 is equal to 10 centimeter of H2O. H2O is the jugular venous pressure. The normal jugular venous pressure is less than 5 centimeter of H2O, but when it is raised, you see the upper limit of the jugular vein, then you hold a postcard horizontally. From this, you draw a line from the postcard to the angle of Lewis and add 5 to that to measure the how many centimeter of H2O of JBP is this. Understood?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now I am coming. Don't leave the meeting.